Hello everyone and welcome back to lesson 16 of my English videos. Today we're going to talk about adjectives. What is an adjective? Adjectives are words that describe the qualities or states of being of nouns. For example, enormous, silly, yellow, fun, and fast. They can also describe the quantity of nouns. For example, many, few, millions, and 11. What is the purpose of an adjective? Adjectives are words that modify or describe nouns. Adjectives do not modify verbs or adverbs or other adjectives. For example, Margaret wore a beautiful hat to the pie-eating contest. Furry dogs may overheat in the summertime. My cake should have 16 candles. The scariest villain of all time is Darth Vader. In the sentences above, the adjectives are easy to spot because they come immediately before the nouns they modify. So in sentence number 1, beautiful describes hat. In sentence number 2, furry describes dogs. In the third sentence, 16 describes candles. And in the fourth sentence, scariest describes villain. But adjectives can do more than just modify nouns. They can also act as a complement to linking verbs or the verb to be. A linking verb is a verb like to feel, to seem, or to taste that describes a state of being or a sensory experience. For example, that cow sure is happy. It smells gross in the locker room. Driving is faster than walking. The technical term for an adjective used this way is predicate adjective. So as you can see, the adjectives happy, gross, and faster come after a linking verb, which are in this case verb to be, is, and the verb smells, which is a linking verb. Uses of adjectives. Adjectives tell the reader how much or how many of something you're talking about, which thing you want passed to you, or which kind of something you want. For example, please use 3 white flowers in the arrangement. 3 and white are modifying flowers, so they both describe flowers. White describes which color the flowers are, and 3 describes how many flowers. Coordinate adjectives. Often when adjectives are used together, you should separate them with a comma or a conjunction. For example, I'm looking for a small, good-tempered dog to keep as a pet. My new dog is small and good-tempered. Degrees of comparison. Adjectives come in 3 forms: absolute, comparative, and superlative. Absolute adjectives describe something in its own right. For example, a cool guy, a messy desk, a mischievous cat. Comparative adjectives. Comparative adjectives make a comparison between 2 or more things. Here are some tips to help you use the comparative adjectives. For most one-syllable adjectives, the comparative is formed by adding the suffix er or just r if the adjective already ends with an e, so it's pretty simple. For 2-syllable adjectives ending in y, replace y with ier. And for multi-syllable adjectives, add the word more before the adjective. Here are some examples. A cooler guy, a messier desk, a more mischievous cat. So in the first sentence, the adjective is 1 syllable, which is why we add er. In the second sentence, the adjective is 2 syllables ending in y, so we replace the y with ier. And in the last sentence, it's a multi-syllable adjective, so we add more before the adjective. Superlative adjectives. Superlative adjectives indicate that something has the highest degree of the quality in question. Here are some tips to help you form the superlative adjective. 1-syllable adjectives become superlatives by adding the suffix est or just st for adjectives that already end in e. For two-syllable adjectives ending in y, replace the y with iest. And for multi-syllable adjectives, add the word most before the adjective. Here are some tips concerning the superlative adjectives. When you use an article with a superlative adjective, it will almost always be the definite article the, rather than a or an. That's because using a superlative inherently indicates that you are talking about a specific item or items. Here are some examples. The coolest guy, the messiest desk, and the most mischievous cat. So in the first sentence, we add est since the adjective is a one-syllable adjective. In the second sentence, we replace the y with iest since the adjective is a two-syllable adjective ending in y. And in the last sentence, we add most before the adjective since it's a multi-syllable adjective. Coordinate adjectives. Coordinate adjectives should be separated by a comma or the word and. Adjectives are said to be coordinate if they modify the same noun in a sentence. Here are some examples of coordinate adjectives. This is going to be a long, cold winter. Judy's dedicated and tireless efforts made all the difference. But just the fact that two adjectives appear next to each other doesn't automatically mean they are coordinate. Sometimes an adjective and a noun form a single semantic unit, which is then modified by another adjective. In this case, the adjectives are not coordinate and should not be separated by a comma. Here are some examples of non-coordinate adjectives. My cat Goober loves sleeping on this tattered woolen sweater. No one could open the old silver locket. In some cases, it's pretty hard to decide whether two adjectives are coordinate or not, but there are a couple of ways you can test them. Try inserting the word and between the adjectives to see if the phrase still seems natural. In the first sentence, this tattered and woolen sweater doesn't sound right because you really aren't talking about a sweater that is both tattered and woolen. It's a woolen sweater that is tattered. Woolen sweater forms a unit of meaning that is modified by tattered. Another way to test for coordinate adjectives is to try switching the order of the adjectives and seeing if the phrase still works. In the second sentence, you wouldn't say, no one could open the silver old locket. You can't reverse the order of the adjectives because silver locket is a unit that is modified by old, so it's a silver locket that is old. The same goes for the first sentence, which is a woolen sweater that is tattered. Adjectives after linking verbs. Linking verbs are verbs that serve as a connection between a subject and further information about that subject. They do not show any action, rather they link the subject with the rest of the sentence. The verb to be is the most common linking verb, but there are many others including all the sense verbs. Here are some examples of linking verbs. All forms of be, am, is, are, was, were, has been, are being, might be, etc., become, seem, look, feel, appear, taste, remain, and smell. Here are some examples. The ocean looked peaceful that fine Tuesday. I felt so excited that day. The soup tastes spicier than usual. Rachel's theory about time management remains untested. So here are the linking verbs looked, felt, tastes, and remains. The linking verbs are followed by an adjective, like peaceful, excited, spicier, and untested. When nouns become adjectives and adjectives become nouns. Now this can be confusing for many of you, but here are some examples that will help clear the confusion. One more thing you should know about adjectives is that sometimes a word that is normally used as a noun can function as an adjective, depending on its placement. For example, never try to pet someone's guide dog without asking permission first. Guide is a noun, but in this sentence it modifies dog. So in this sentence, the noun guide is acting as an adjective. It works the other way around too. Some words that are normally adjectives can function as nouns. Candace is working on a fundraiser to help the homeless. In the context of this sentence, homeless is functioning as a noun. So homeless is usually an adjective. We usually say a homeless person. But here in this sentence, it's functioning as a noun. It can be hard to wrap your head around this if you think of adjectives and nouns only as particular classes of words. But the terms adjective and noun aren't just about a word's form, they're also about its function. Here's some adjective usage advice. It's one thing to know how to use an adjective, and it's another to know when using one is a good idea. Good writing is precise and concise, which means that it's very specific and it's straight to the point. Sometimes you need an adjective to convey exactly what you mean. It's hard to describe a red sports car without using the word red. But often, choosing the right noun eliminates the need to add an adjective. For example, is it a big house or is it a mansion? Is it a dark night or just night? Always remember to make every word count in your writing. If you need an adjective, use it, but if it's not necessary, then delete it. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thanks for watching. As always, see you in the next one.